A well-known verse, many of you will know it already, so it shouldn't be too hard. It's just two simple phrases. It comes from Romans chapter 8, and the verse is this: if God is for us, who can be against us? If God is for us, who can be against us? So we're just going to say it a couple of times through, and then we're going to begin to think about it. So if the kids can shout up loudly with this verse, that would be great. So we'll start off with the first phrase. So I'll say it, and then you say it. Okay. If God is for us.
If God is for us.
Okay, we'll say it again a bit louder. If God is for us.
If God is for us.
And then the next phrase, who can be against us?
Who can be against us?
Again, a bit louder. I can't hear any children. Lots of grown-ups, lots of big kids, but no children. So, if God is for us, who can be against us? Okay, that's the verse. And now we're just going to think a little bit about the kind of reasoning in that verse. And as we think about the reasoning, I want you to have a picture in your head. There's going to be a picture come up on the screen in a minute. But probably if you can imagine a picture, it will be far better than the one that comes up on the screen. So I want you to imagine a real huge tractor, kind of the biggest tractor, most powerful tractor you can imagine. And then there's a rope. And then I want you to imagine the biggest, strongest man you can think of. Okay? So on one side we've got a huge, powerful tractor. And on the other side we've got a really strong man. I don't want any names. Just imagine in your mind a strong, big man at this side, and between the two is a rope, and it's going to be a tug of war. So I'll put the picture up on the screen. This was the best one I could find. It's not very impressive at all, but that's what we've got going on in our minds: a tractor on one side, and this really strong man on the other. Now, I want you to picture this man. He's strong, he's intimidating, he's huge. And what we're going to do, we're going to start the tractor up, put the tractor in gear, and that's going to pull one way. And then the fella on the other side, he's going to kind of brace himself and pull the other way. And I want you to tell me what happens. What's going to happen? The rope will start. Oh, no, we've got a really thick rope. So what's going to happen? Yeah, the guy's just going to be dragged along by the tractor, isn't it? No matter how big the man is, no matter how strong he is. You know, you see these fellas on The World's Strongest Man, they're kind of pulling a plane. But the plane's not trying. The plane is stationary, the engines aren't running, and he's pulling it. And some of these strong men can pull a tractor, but the minute you start the engine and start driving in the other direction, no one stands a chance at all. And that's what our verse is saying. It's if God is for us, who can be against us? It doesn't matter. Imagine that the tractor represents God's power and his might. It doesn't matter who you put on the other side of that rope. They don't stand a chance. So if God is for us, who can be against us? But that verse starts with a kind of a little word that's a little bit disconcerting, doesn't it? What's the first word in the sentence? If God is for us. How do we know? How do we know God is for us? When we look in our Bible, God is against some people, and it's a scary thing to have God against you. So how do we know God is for us? It's a question worth asking. And if we turn to the very next bit in the verse continues to say, if God is for us, who can be against us? And then it says, he who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? So how do we know that God is for us? How do we know the if isn't an if, but it's a God is for us? It's when we look at his son. God didn't even spare his own son, and if he doesn't spare his own son, he won't spare anything else from us. So especially to the younger ones, there'll be times in life when you wonder, is God for me? How do I know? Sometimes I feel like God isn't for me. I feel like he's against me. I feel like he's angry with me. How do we know that God is for us? Well, we know that God is for us when we look at Jesus and we see that he didn't even spare his own son, that he loved this world so much. And if God is for us, we stand on the side of the rope with the tractor. And it doesn't matter who's on the other end. God is for us. No one can stand against us. So that's kind of the theme of what we're going to be looking at later in Habakkuk as well, that if God is for us, who can be against us? We're going to sing a few songs now, so I'm going to invite the musicians back up. Some choruses, some songs with actions, but I think Victoria's going to lead the way.